She thought she owned the neighborhood. Every night, her Tesla crept up my driveway, leeching power from my solar grid like a thief in silk pajamas. I warned her once. She laughed. So I stopped warning and started recording. Because the night I set the voltage to maximum, I stopped being her victim. My name is Evan Cole. I'm not the type who likes drama. I'm an engineer. I like systems that make sense, things that follow rules. My life runs on logic. Solar panels, clean energy, and a schedule tight enough to set your watch by. Every wire in my home has a purpose. Every bolt in my workshop has its place. I live on a quiet street, the kind with trimmed lawns, perfect fences, and neighbors who wave just enough to seem friendly. My wife, Sarah, and I picked this neighborhood for one reason: peace. We wanted to build a life where nothing unpredictable ever happened. But peace doesn't last long when control freaks run the show. And our showrunner was Karen Dunn, the HOA president. She didn't own the neighborhood, but she acted like it. Her rules came faster than mail. Trash cans must be hidden. Lawns trimmed to regulation length. Holiday lights down by January 2nd. Everything about her screamed authority without accountability. Still, I stayed out of it. I kept my head down, paid my dues, and minded my business. My home was my sanctuary, powered entirely by the sun. The system I built was flawless. Solar panels on the roof, battery storage in the garage, and a high-efficiency charger for my car. Clean, smart, self-sustaining. That's what I love most: independence. My power was mine. My system was mine. Until one night, the system told me something was wrong. A sudden spike, a silent alarm. And in that instant, my peaceful, perfectly measured life flickered. Because in a neighborhood built on control, someone had just crossed a line they didn't even know existed. It started with a sound, not a crash, not a scream, just a single, sharp digital beep, the kind of noise that means nothing to most people. But to me, it meant someone had just stepped into my world. The clock read 2:07 a.m. The house was dark, quiet, perfect. Then that beep cut through the silence like a scalpel. My custom energy monitor, the one that tracks every electron from my solar grid, was flashing red. That had never happened before. I sat up, heart steady but alert. I'm not the panicking type. Data is information, and information means control. I grabbed my tablet from the nightstand. The screen glowed in the dark, displaying a live graph of my power flow. For hours it had been flat, the usual trickle of midnight energy. But now, a spike shot up like a lightning bolt. 48 amps. The maximum draw from my level 2 charger. Only my car could pull that much. But my car was in the garage, fully charged, unplugged, which meant someone else was using my power. I got out of bed, careful not to wake Sarah. The air was cold, the house silent except for the low hum of electricity. I walked a window and peeked through the blinds. The motion sensor light outside flicked on, flooding the driveway with harsh white light. And there she was, Karen Dunn, standing in her silk robe, smug and comfortable, her Tesla plugged into my charger like she owned it. She scrolled her phone as if nothing about this was insane. For a moment, I couldn't even speak. My brain ran through the numbers, voltage, current, duration, but none of it mattered. This wasn't about electricity. It was about boundaries. I whispered to myself, "You've got to be kidding me." That night, something in me shifted. She had crossed a line I didn't even know I had. And from that moment on, this wasn't just about power. It was about principle. I stepped outside barefoot, the concrete cool beneath my feet. The night was still except for the quiet hum of the charger. My charger, feeding power straight into her Tesla. The sight made my stomach twist. "Karen," I said, keeping my voice calm, measured. "What are you doing?" She didn't flinch, didn't even look guilty. She turned to me with that signature smile, the kind that hides 1,000 excuses. "Oh, Evan," she said sweetly, "just topping up. I had a long day and forgot to charge at home." I blinked. "At home? This isn't your home." She laughed, a soft, condescending sound. "Oh, come on. We're neighbors. It's not a big deal. The charger's outside. It's basically public. Public. That word hit me harder than it should have. My panels, my system, my design, months of careful wiring and testing, and she called it public. Karen, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, this charger's powered by my solar grid. It's private property. Her tone changed. The fake smile dropped, replaced by that smug HOA authority. Evan, as HOA president, I'm very aware of community guidelines. And anything on the exterior of a home can be considered part of the shared neighborhood aesthetic. I stared at her. Aesthetic? She shrugged. Besides, it's good for the environment. We should all be grateful you're contributing to our green image. It was like arguing with a brick wall painted in lipstick. Logic didn't matter. Ownership didn't matter. Only her control did. I wanted to yell, to rip the cord out her car, but I didn't. I'm an engineer. I don't react. I design. So I just said, unplug your car, Karen. She tilted her head. Or what? You'll call the HOA? I am the HOA. I stared at her. The robe, the arrogance, the quiet hum of my stolen energy. Enjoy your charge, I said finally. It'll be your last. She smirked, thinking she'd won. But as I turned and walked back inside, my mind was already racing. If she wanted power, I'd show her what real power looked like. When someone steals from you, you get angry. When someone mocks you while doing it, you get creative. And that night, lying awake with the hum of her Tesla still echoing in my head, I decided creativity was my new weapon. I didn't sleep. Engineers don't brood. We build. By sunrise, I had a notepad filled with sketches, circuits, and plans. To Karen, this was about power. To me, it was about control. Phase 1, deterrence. I ordered a heavy-duty steel lockbox designed to cover the charger handle completely. Industrial-grade, weatherproof. Impossible to cut without drawing attention. It would say, in the clearest possible language, this isn't yours. But I knew Karen. Petty rules, bigger ego. A lock wouldn't stop her. It would challenge her. Phase 2, invisible defense. Behind my garage panel was the charger's main breaker. Easy to find, too easy. I rerouted the circuit through a hidden secondary breaker box tucked inside the attic. One flip, and my charger became a lifeless piece of metal. She could plug in, scream, or file complaints. Nothing would flow. The thought made me smile. Quiet, controlled satisfaction. Still, deterrence was enough. I wanted certainty. Proof. Phase 3, intelligence. I installed an RFID access module, the kind that only activates with a special key tag. No tag, no power. My tag lived in my wallet. Sarah's was stuck to her phone. It was elegant, silent, and foolproof. Tap once, green light. Tap again, nothing. To everyone else, it was just dead plastic. When the installation was done, I stood in my garage, surrounded by tools, the smell of solder and the steady buzz of accomplishment. The system was perfect, layered, logical, unbreakable. Sarah walked in, still in her robe, holding a cup of coffee. You've been up all night, she said softly. I nodded. I'm building peace of mind. She looked at the metal lockbox gleaming on the charger. You really think she'll stop? I smiled faintly. No, but I think she'll learn. Outside, the sun climbed over the rooftops, lighting up my panels. The power they made now belonged only to me. For the first time in days, I felt calm, not angry, ready. Because when you design systems for a living, you know one rule better than any other. Every input gets a response. And sooner or later, Karen Dunn would input the wrong command. A week of silence can fool you into thinking you've won. But silence isn't peace. It's pressure building. And that pressure broke at 12:43 a.m. I was sitting in my living room, half asleep on the couch, when my phone buzzed, a single notification from my energy monitor. Unauthorized access detected. My heart didn't race. It just clicked into focus. I moved quietly to the window, parting the blinds with one finger. The motion light blinked on, flooding my driveway in white. And there she was again. Karen Dunn, this time dressed in black, like she thought darkness made her invisible. But her silver Tesla gleamed under the light, and in her hand was something new, a cheap, off-brand charging adapter. She wasn't using my charger anymore. My lockbox had seen to that. No, she was going for the wall outlet I use for Christmas lights. She crouched down, fumbling with cords, muttering to herself. I recognized that adapter instantly, the kind that doesn't regulate current properly, the kind that burns out before it breaks even. I wanted to stop her. I really did. But she wasn't listening last time, and tonight she decided to test physics. She forced the plug into the outlet, jammed the other end into her Tesla, and stood back with that smug look of victory. And for one brief, beautiful second, nothing happened. Then came the sound. A sharp snap followed by a hiss, like air escaping from a tire. A blinding blue-white arc burst from the adapter, lighting her driveway like a camera flash. She screamed. Smoke poured out from under her car's charging port. I was already moving, grabbing the fire extinguisher from the garage wall, running barefoot across the concrete. By the time I got there, she was frozen, her hand over her mouth, staring at her melting adapter like she couldn't believe reality had just rejected her authority. I pulled the pin, aimed low, and unleashed a blast of white powder. The hiss swallowed the flame in seconds. Silence. Just smoke, sparks, and disbelief. Her free charge had just cost her a fortune. And neither of us knew the night was far from over. The fire went out in seconds, but the damage it left behind was permanent, not just to her car, but to everything she thought she controlled. The air reeked of burnt plastic and chemicals. Smoke curled up from the melted adapter, like a ghost trying to escape the mess it had made. Karen's Tesla was scarred, black streaks across the silver paint. The charge port half melted into a warped crater. I stood there, breathing hard, extinguisher still in my hand. My driveway looked like a crime scene. Karen just stared. Her expression flickered between shock, confusion, and, unbelievably, blame. You did this, she shrieked, her voice slicing through the silence. I blinked. What? I just saved your car from burning to the ground. She stepped toward me, eyes wild, pointing a shaking finger at the charger. You tampered with it. You set me up. You tried to kill me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She'd come onto my property, used an illegal adapter, started a fire, and now she was rewriting reality. Karen, you plugged a $10 knockoff into a 2-ton battery. I said, struggling to stay calm. That's not sabotage. That's stupidity. Her face twisted. You'll pay for this, she hissed. And then she saw it. The small gray box next to the charger, my monitoring system. A red light blinked steadily on its face, recording everything. Her eyes widened with realization. She lunged forward, prying open the cover with her nails. Karen, don't. Too late. She ripped the tiny SD card out and clenched it in her fist. This is my proof, she screamed. Evidence of what you did. Before I could stop her, she turned and ran across the lawn into the dark. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen, the night echoing with her footsteps. Then I dropped the extinguisher and followed, because she wasn't just running away with a piece of plastic. She was running with the only proof of the truth. Adrenaline doesn't ask questions. It just moves you. And that night, it moved me faster than thought. I tore across the yard barefoot, the cool grass cutting against my feet. Ahead of me, Karen's silk robe fluttered like a flag of panic. She clutched the SD card tight, crashing through hedges and shouting something incoherent. Karen, stop! I yelled, that's my property. She didn't. She only screamed louder. Help! He's attacking me. The sound echoed through the neighborhood. Lights flicked on, doors opened. Within seconds, the flashing red and blue glow of a sheriff's cruiser painted the street. Karen froze. Then, like an actress hitting her mark, she dropped to her knees, sobbing. Officer, thank God. He tried to hurt me. The deputy stepped out, hand resting on his holster. All right, he said, voice firm. What's going on here? I raised my hands, breathing hard. My name's Evan Cole. That woman trespassed, damaged my property, and stole an SD card from my electrical system that recorded the entire incident. She's lying, Karen shrieked, tears streaking down her cheeks. He sabotaged my car. The deputy looked between us, eyes narrowing. Ma'am, he said calmly, what's in your hand? Karen hesitated. Too long. Show me. Slowly, she opened her trembling hand. The tiny black SD card lay in her palm, shining under the cruiser's lights. The deputy took it carefully, sealed it in an evidence bag. We'll let the data speak, he said. And for the first time that night, I let myself breathe, because numbers don't lie. Circuits don't play politics. And once the truth was analyzed, there'd be no room left for hers. The truth doesn't shout. It hums, steady, undeniable, like current through a perfect wire. The investigation was fast. The fire marshal's report came back within days. Faulty adapter, user error. My wiring? Perfect. My system? Untouched. The data from the SD card told the same story. Clean energy, stable output. Then a surge from her cheap knockoff device. Every timestamp, every amp, every second, evidence. Karen's lies short-circuited under the weight of reality. At the next HOA meeting, I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I simply played the footage. Her sneaking into my driveway, the sparks, the theft, the chase. The room went silent. When the vote came, it was unanimous. Karen done. Removed as HOA president, effective immediately. She left in silence. Face pale, robe traded for respectability that didn't fit anymore. I stood by my charger later that night, listening to the soft click of the relay as it powered up for my car. And only mine. Peace had returned. Not the fragile kind that hides beneath fear, but the kind you earn through patience and proof. Karen wanted power. But in the end, the only thing she ever generated was her own downfall. Some people think power means control, rules, titles, authority. But real power? It's silent. It's knowledge, proof, and patience. Karen thought she could drain my energy. Instead, she exposed her own. So, the next time someone crosses your line, don't fight with noise. Fight with logic. Because nothing burns brighter than the truth. Bell, don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an upload.